Hey there, thanks for listening. In today's episode, I'll be introducing Watson Workspace chatbot development and showing how you can get started as quickly as possible. We'll be using JavaScript and Node.js. If you don't have Node installed, just go out to nodejs.org and then follow the download instructions. We'll also be using a few open source packages, namely from my GitHub, van-ibm, as well as npm.js. Now, IBM has quite a few samples of their own, and these are created by the core Workspace product development team. I'm not on that team. I'm just a developer like you. But I'll be showing how we can focus more so on what we want our chatbot to do rather than the inner workings of a chatbot. And for that to happen easily, I've written a few projects. The first is a bot framework. This allows us to create and launch our chatbot easily, listen for webhooks, and a lot of other things. I've also written a rather simple SDK. This wraps APIs into more callable functions. And then we have a bare-bones chatbot, the starter. First, download or clone the Watson Workspace starter project. So from GitHub, you can do that quite easily with the clone or download button. Go ahead and click download zip. And then if you can, choose to unzip the file automatically. And that's going to allow me to come over to my terminal and change directory to Watson Workspace Starter. And to launch our chatbot, we first have to run a command. That's the npm install command. And as you might infer, that the install command is going to install all the dependencies from npm.js that are required to make our chatbot run. And this command should only take a couple of moments to complete. Okay. And to launch our chatbot, we run another command. So that is npm run dev. And dev is a script that's defined in my package JSON. So you can look at how it works, but it's essentially going to launch a couple of utilities to make our local development a bit easier. So if you run npm run dev, you should get a message that looks a lot like this. So we can see here, for one, the chatbot is now running. It's listening on port 3000. And then there's another bit of information. So it's also created a tunnel to a service called ngrok. And what that allows us to do is, normally Watson Workspace exchanges information with your chatbot via webhooks. That webhook has to be a public server. Well, instead of us having to do local development and push those changes up to a public server, only to find out that we did something wrong, what ngrok allows us to do is we can use this little tunnel that goes from my local machine up to ngrok, and now Workspace can just post messages to ngrok, and those come down to my local computer. So it's actually going to make our local development a lot easier. Now, one other thing. There is an error, and that's because even though we've launched our chatbot, we have yet to really tell Watson Workspace that we've got an application that it should be using. So to do that, we head on over to workspace.ibm.com/developer/apps, and we'll create an app. So I'm going to name this app a demo bot, and let's create this application. And so you'll get two pieces of information back, and you'll need to save these because this is the only time that you'll see it. So you can either copy it to your clipboard and save it to a text editor, or what we'll do here is we'll use this app ID and app secret directly in our chatbot. So if you head on over to your editor, I'm using Atom, we'll add that chatbot from our download. And there's a .env file, and that's the file that we'll be working with to make our updates. So let's get our app ID. And let's get our app secret. Let's get all of it. There we go. And we'll save that. And we're done there, but we have to make one more change, and that's going to be what events do we want to listen to, and that's what's known as a webhook. So As I mentioned, Workspace sends information to the chatbot via this webhook. So we'll add one. Let's call it just default. You can name it whatever you'd like. And then here you need the URL. And like I said, normally that would be some public server, but since we're doing local development, we can come down here to this little URL that's in our terminal. Let's copy that. We'll put that here. And then let's choose which events that we want. So we want the message created event, perhaps. That's when any user posts a message into a space. And then also, why don't we listen for the message annotation added event. So let's save this. And what we get back is one more piece of information we need to use. That's the webhook secret. Copy that. Come back to your editor. Paste that here and save. So we've got everything we need to run our chatbot. And the last thing that we need to do is enable the webhook. So if we click enable, something's going to happen. It's not going to work. And that's because our chatbot over here, we made all those changes to the .env file, but we haven't restarted the chatbot. And so what we want to do is, because it's a neat feature of the development environment, I'm using a utility called NodeMon. And so what's neat about NodeMon is if we open up one of the JavaScript files, anytime you make a change to JavaScript, NodeMon is going to automatically reload. So we get our changes updated. So that means we don't have to really run the npm run dev command again. We can simply make our changes and test them immediately. It also is nice because the webhook from ngrok is going to remain running in the background. So let's change something. Let's change these to verbose, just so that we can make a change, and then we can also see some information on the console. So let's change those to verbose. Let's go back here. You can see on the right-hand side that it reloaded automatically. It re-requested the token this time, and this time it picked up the changes in .env, our app ID, app secret. You can see it successfully requested token, and now we can click enable. And here we see received a webhook verification challenge that indicates that Workspace is now talking to our chatbot. And as long as this doesn't error like we saw again, you're good to add your bot to your space. And do that quite easily by coming over to a space. And you can see I've done a little bit of work in here, but let's add from our apps folder, let's add a demo bot. That's the one we just created. We'll add app. And let's close this. And you can see it's already doing some things. And then let's just do another test. So if we type hello world, we can see that our chatbot is now receiving events from Workspace. And these events are message annotation events that we would go and do something with. And there's information in that annotation that we want to use. So in the next video, we'll look at how we can use the SDK to process that information and further build out the features of our chatbot.